Hello and good morning, friends. Today we're going to be taking a look at a pressure tank in the field, real time. Let's get into what's going on with this tank and why this particular plumber could cause a problem down the road if the homeowner doesn't know what they're doing. And if you have a shutoff just like this, I want to teach you why you don't want to touch it, right? Let's get into it. Alrighty, friends. So today we're looking at a pressure tank, right? So we can see here, this big guy, this is our pressure tank. This is our pressure switch. Obviously, that's a pressure gauge. This is a hose bib. We use these to drain out the tanks, do maintenance, etc. Pressure relief valve. This exists so that way if that sticks on, for whatever reason, if it gets above 75 PSI, standard, this will go off, right? This will relieve some of that pressure. Sometimes these are set a little bit higher, but most of the time, they're almost always 75 PSI. Over here, we see a check valve. This prevents the water from the house going back into the well. Now, we can see here that we have two shutoff valves. We have one over here and one over here. Now, generally, whenever you have a well, you're only gonna have a shutoff after the pressure tank, right? So we have one here, here, and there, right? So the reason why this little fella is going to be what controls the power to the well pump, right? So what it's gonna do is it's going to call for water. And how that works is this little stem right down here, this nipple, is gonna have water pushing up, and the water is gonna go up and push on the springs, right? Now, how this will work is at 40 PSI, the pump will kick on, and at 60 PSI, the pump will kick off. This spring right here is what turns the well pump on and off at that PSI, right? So basically this is calibrated for when 40 PSI happens, it'll push these white plates in, which will then connect the house power to the pump power. And then at 60 PSI, the pump will turn off by having the springs pull those contact plates back. Now, there's a little nut right on top of there, right? And what you can do if you wanted to increase the pressure is every rotation clockwise increases by about 1 PSI. Every rotation counterclockwise decreases by 1 PSI. Now, if you're going to do this, it's very important to realize that this is going to be 240 volts, right? So it's going to be a little bit spicy if you don't turn the power off. Also, by messing with that spring, you can mess up a lot of your warranties. So I do not recommend touching that spring. This spring over here, the little fella, that's gonna be our difference, right? So we know that this is a 40-60 switch, so that means there's a 20-point swing from cut on to cut off. That is going to make it to where you can either increase that swing or decrease that swing. Not worth touching, don't bother with it, right? So now we know how that pressure switch works, right? As you call for water by running a shower, toilet, bathtub, whatever, the pressure is gonna drop in the tank. In here, there's air, and that air is gonna be what pushes the water through the home. Now, generally, if you wanna shut off the water to the house, what you do is you close that. When it's parallel, it's open. When it's perpendicular, it's closed. But we can see here that somebody put another one before the pressure switch. Now, I'm gonna give you a minute. If you can think about in the comments why you don't necessarily wanna have one over here, leave a comment below. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, good. Now, you've left your comment. Let's go into what's going on here. So we see that we've got a couple unions, right? So I think what this particular plumber was trying to do is set up to when this thing fails, right? So it's only 2018, so we should still have another 10 years plus before we have to worry about dealing with this. But what I think they were trying to do is in the event of failure, you should be able to unscrew these and easily just pull the tank out, slide a new tank in, reconnect, call it a day. The problem is that a majority of homeowners aren't going to realize the difference between the two of these. And that's why I want to talk to you guys today, because there's a huge difference between the two. So they both will shut the water off to the house eventually. This will shut the water off faster, right? So we can see that here that this is a WX302. So this is a fairly large tank. This will shut the water off from the pump getting to the tank. So you still have to deplete all of this and all of the water in the line. The problem is, as that pressure drops, this is going to kick on, right? So if you shut the water off over here and somebody turns on a toilet or a bathtub or whatever, the pressure in the pipe over here will drop, but the pressure over here will remain the same. So the switch never engages. However, if you close this one, the switch will engage and it'll call for water and the pump will begin to pump. However, the water is going to hit the shutoff over here and not be able to get in to the tank to turn this off. So eventually what will happen is either A, if somebody doesn't glue the joints correctly, the joint could fail, or B, you overwork the pump. You could have all sorts of issues down in the well that you don't want to have to deal with, right? So generally what I recommend, have a zip tie just like this, right? Put it right over top. Now, that zip tie was not there when I got here. So that means at any point since whenever this plumber put it in, presumably in 2018, somebody could have come down here and used that as the main water shutoff. Very dangerous. Now, usually the best way to avoid this situation is just not to have a shutoff over here to begin with, right? So if you have one, it's very important that you're very cautious and you use a zip tie, so that way somebody who wants to close it has to go through a little bit of an extra step to close that shutoff, so that way you don't risk burning up your pump, having any kind of issues, or flooding your house, right? I hope this was useful. I hope this was helpful. If you've ever had something like this installed in your house, please leave a comment below, share your story. Have you ever accidentally closed that and caused some damage to your system by not knowing any better? Leave a comment, guys. I have more videos posted every day in the world of well and septic. I hope that you enjoyed this. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon.